You know, there's this strangely universal experience that we almost never talk about in a strictly mechanical way.
Right, yeah.
It's that feeling when you wake up some days and you just feel like entirely invincible. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Ready to take on the world.
Exactly. Your brain is firing on all cylinders. Nothing can rattle you. And then there are other days where you feel completely drained, just hollowed out.
Yeah, totally empty.
Right. And the frustrating part is this happens even if you did everything right on paper. You ate a perfectly balanced meal, you drank your water, you slept a solid, uninterrupted 8 hours.
You checked all the boxes.
Yes. Physically, your tank is full, but mentally, you're running on fumes. Why does that actually happen?
It's a question that completely upends how we usually think about human health, I think.
How so?
Well, we spend an enormous amount of time obsessing over our physical inputs, right? The calories, the macronutrients, the vitamins.
The hours of sleep tracked on our wrists, yeah.
Exactly. But we routinely ignore the invisible forces that are actually dictating our mental and spiritual well-being. And today's deep dive is taking us straight into the mechanics of those invisible forces.
I'm excited for this.
Me too. We're unpacking an intriguing 2012 essay by a writer named Schweffing, and it's titled Absorption of Non-Material Energy.
And the mission for this deep dive is to explore Schweffing's framework for understanding what actually fuels our minds and our spirits.
Right.
Because his premise argues that our environments and our relationships are not just, a neutral backdrop to our lives.
No, not at all.
They are actively functioning as either batteries charging us up or black holes just sucking the vitality right out of us.
It's a really stark way to look at it. Schweffing's framework starts with a very basic biological reality, actually.
Okay, like what?
Just like a plant relies on photosynthesis to survive, humans fundamentally rely on energy. But he introduces a crucial division that kind of changes everything.
The two categories, right?
Yes. He proposes that human beings require two entirely distinct categories of energy to function. First, there is material energy.
Which is the obvious stuff.
Right. This is the tangible fuel our physical bodies require to exist. The food you eat, the water you drink, the physical sunlight hitting your skin.
Yeah, the stuff we can measure.
Exactly. But then, he says, there is an entirely separate requirement, which he calls non-material energy. And this is the invisible fuel that our spiritual and mental bodies need to actually survive.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I want to map this onto something we all use every day.
I love a good analogy.
It's like a smartphone,
Yeah.
right? The material energy is the physical electricity coming from the wall outlet, charging the lithium battery.
Okay, yeah.
If you plug it in, the screen turns on. The hardware has power. But the non-material energy, that is the Wi-Fi connection. That is the software update.
Oh, that's a perfect way to look at it.
Right, because if you don't have that non-material input, sure, the phone turns on, but it's basically, it's very expensive paperweight. It's disconnected, it can't process anything meaningful, and it can't execute its actual purpose.
That structural analogy maps perfectly onto Schweffing's concept of human vitality.
Yeah.
You can have a fully charged physical battery, like you said. You slept 8 hours, you ate a hearty breakfast, but without that non-material signal, you're stranded.
You're just a powered-up brick.
Right. His framework explicitly states that for a person to be genuinely healthy, to have a clear mind, to be mentally sharp, and crucially, to possess the capacity to do good deeds in the world, they must absorb sufficient non-material energy.
So if someone is missing that software update, if they're physically nourished but entirely cut off from that Wi-Fi signal, what is the mechanical result in their day-to-day life?
The result is, it's systemic failure.
Wow.
Yeah. Schweffing warns that lacking this energy causes a person to become ill, feel deeply depressed, lack vitality, and just become utterly listless.
They just lose their drive.
Exactly. They lose their ambition and their love for life. They are physically fed, but spiritually and mentally they're starving to death.
Which perfectly explains that feeling of waking up completely drained despite doing everything right physically. Your physical battery is at 100%, but your non-material battery is just flashing red.
Precisely.
So if non-material energy is the Wi-Fi signal keeping our minds functional, what exactly does a good connection look like in this framework? What are the actual battery chargers here?
So Schweffing categorizes these chargers as positive non-material energy, and his definition is it's an extensive, truly fascinating list.
Yeah, I was looking at this.
It blends these grand, deeply spiritual concepts with incredibly mundane, everyday environmental factors.
Right.
On the spiritual side, positive energy includes absorbing faith, ideals, beliefs, love, and freedom.
Those are the massive sweeping concepts, the things poets and philosophers write about.
Right, they're the macro chargers. But then he immediately pivots and lists things like wealth, happiness, joy, and pleasure.
Which feels a lot more grounded.
Yeah, and he gets even more granular, bringing it right down to our physical surroundings. He lists cleanliness, tidiness, good order, and beautiful environments.
Even the weather, right?
Yes, even something as simple as brightness. The light of a bright springtime day is classified as positive, non-material energy.
And looking at his list, he heavily emphasizes the social and emotional chargers, too.
Oh, absolutely.
The interpersonal aspects of our daily lives. Things like being encouraged by someone, receiving praise, appreciation, and, being appreciated in return.
Care, affection, all of that.
Yeah, harmonious interpersonal relationships.
Yeah.
He even includes the ambient feeling of smoothness, like when your day just goes as planned and things unfold in a satisfying, friction-free way.
We really need to pause and look at the underlying mechanism of why these specific things matter in his framework.
I agree, because here's where it gets really interesting. I'm looking at this list, and I'm surprised by how grounded and ordinary so much of it is.
Yeah, it's not all high philosophy.
Not at all. I expected a spiritual essay about non-material energy to focus exclusively on, like, deep meditation or ascetic retreats. But he's putting having a tidy desk on the exact same level as profound spiritual faith.
She really is.
Why? How does a clean room mechanically charge a human spirit?
What's fascinating here is how Shifeng synthesizes the physical and the spiritual into a single thermodynamic system.
Okay, thermodynamics. Tell me more.
He is arguing that our physical environment and our social friction, or the lack thereof, directly translate into spiritual fuel. Think about the cognitive load of a chaotic environment.
Oh man, I feel that.
Right. When your bedroom is a mess or your office is disorganized, your brain is constantly subconsciously processing that disorder.
It's just a subtle, ongoing drain on your mental bandwidth.
Exactly.
Is absolute friction. You are burning processing power just existing in the space.
And when you are in a beautifully ordered environment, that friction completely disappears.
You can just breathe.
Right. A person living in a well-ordered, beautiful environment, navigating harmonious relationships, and frequently receiving praise, naturally absorbs positive energy because their system isn't constantly fighting off ambient chaos.
It makes so much sense when you put it like that.
And the result isn't merely that they feel relaxed in the moment. The compounding result is a deep love for life, confidence in the future, and a genuine longing for a better existence.
Because they aren't expending all their spiritual energy just trying to survive their environment, they actually have surplus fuel to build on.
Yes, the surplus.
They have the momentum to hold bigger ideals.
That surplus is the key. You absorb the beauty and order of your surroundings, which then fuels your capacity to have faith, to hold on to those macro ideals, and to actually execute good deeds for others. It's an upward spiral of non-material accumulation.
So if beauty and praise are actively pumping energy into our system, we have to look at what is bleeding it dry.
We definitely do.
Because according to his framework, batteries don't just stay charged on their own, they get drained. And Swifeng explicitly states that preventing and avoiding what he calls negative non-material energy is the most critical part of this entire philosophy.
It really is the ultimate priority of his system. I mean, if you have a massive hole in the bottom of your bucket, it doesn't matter how much positive water you pour in at the top.
Right, you're always going to be empty.
Exactly. He defines negative non-material energy as the exact inverse of the positive. So if order, beauty, and brightness are chargers, the drains are dirty, chaotic, and poor environments.
Which includes the social environments, too.
Yes. It involves any disorderly condition where your baseline peace is frequently disturbed.
And the human toll listed in the source material is particularly heavy here, I have to say. The interpersonal drains he highlights are intense.
Very intense.
Conflicts, contradictions, struggles, arguments, quarrels, and resentments. He talks about the massive energetic drain of being bullied, oppressed, exploited, insulted, attacked, or ridiculed.
And it goes beyond direct, malicious attacks on your person, too.
Yeah.
He points out the silent threat of ambient negativity.
Oh, like secondhand smoke for the soul.
Kind of, yeah. Simply being in the vicinity of anger, rage, complaints, grievances, and lamentations. If you're sitting on your morning commute and the coworker in the passenger seat is complaining endlessly about their life, they are, mechanically speaking, siphoning your non-material energy just by exposing you to that rhetoric.
I am so glad you brought up the interpersonal aspect because I really want to look closely at one specific, very challenging line in the text.
Okay, let's hear it.
Sufeng says that negative energy includes the illnesses, negative, pessimistic emotions, information, and rhetoric of those around you, especially those closest to you.
Yes, that part.
I mean, I have to push back on this. Is it really fair to classify a close friend or a family member's illness as a negative energy drain on us?
It sounds rough, I know.
It feels incredibly harsh.
Mm.
If someone you love gets sick, labeling them a negative energy drain feels, well, callous.
If we connect this to the bigger picture of his logic, we can see it is a highly unsentimental, purely mechanical view of human interaction.
Mechanical, meaning no judgment attached.
Exactly. Shui Feng is not making a moral judgment on the sick or the depressed. He isn't saying that a person with an illness is inherently bad, or that someone struggling with depression is acting with malice.
Okay.
He is stating a mechanical fact of thermodynamics within his energy framework.
So walk me through the physics of that interaction then. How does a loved one's illness drain my battery?
Well, empathy, caretaking, and worry require massive, sustained transfers of non-material energy.
Because you're outputting so much care.
Right. When you are surrounded by the physical illness of a loved one, or tasked with managing their pessimistic rhetoric and stress, you are operating in an environment of severe depletion.
You're just giving and giving.
Yes, your own spiritual fuel is being actively consumed to manage and stabilize that situation. You're essentially acting as a generator for someone who cannot generate their own power.
Wow, okay. It's like standing in a freezing cold room.
That's a good way to put it.
Like the room isn't evil for being cold, right?
Yeah.
And it isn't maliciously attacking you. But the physical reality is that the environment is unequivocally draining your body heat. And if you stay in there long enough, you will freeze too.
That is the exact mechanism he's warning about. When a person is constantly immersed in this state, surrounded by depressed, dispirited people, facing unjust treatment, absorbing daily complaints, managing chronic illness, they bleed non-material energy to the point of total disillusionment.
Which is terrifying.
It is. Swefeng argues this leads to a distaste for life itself. You lose your own capacity to function, let alone help anyone else.
So if our messy desks, our complaining coworkers, and the genuine struggles of our loved ones possess this immense mechanical power to drain our non-material energy, how does Yifeng expect us to survive that without completely losing our minds?
Right. What's the fix?
Yeah, what is his prescription here?
The solution provided by the framework is stark and uncompromising. Swefeng distills his entire strategic response for dealing with negative energy down to a single urgent command: escape.
Just escape.
Escape. He explicitly advises that you must distance yourself as much as physically and emotionally possible from people, things, and environments that make you unhappy, uncomfortable, unfree, or unblessed.
Wow.
He mandates staying away from those who are dispirited, lethargic, bothersome, troubling, or who frequently air grievances.
And I assume the inverse of escaping the bad is actively hunting down the good.
Yes. He dictates getting closer to beautiful, civilized environments, getting closer to joyful people who bring you confidence and elevate your baseline.
That sounds nice, at least.
And on a macro spiritual level, he advises getting closer to the greatest creator, gods, Buddhas, celestial beings, and seeking out paradise.
Okay, looking for the ultimate Wi-Fi connection.
Exactly. Connecting to a higher power, in his view, is like plugging your consciousness directly into an infinite divine energy grid.
So what does this all mean for us? Because reading this mandate to just escape, I really struggle with the real-world practicality of this advice for the listener going about their day.
It's definitely controversial.
Isn't escaping just running away from our responsibilities? If your loved one is sick, or your coworker is going through a terrible divorce and needs to vent, fleeing the scene seems impossible if you want to be a responsible, caring participant in society.
Yeah, it feels selfish to modern ears.
It sounds like a recipe for total isolation. If the moment things get heavy, you just bolt for the door.
This raises an important question, and it really represents the central tension of his entire philosophy. Stufing is proposing a radical, almost shocking prioritization of one's own spiritual survival over conventional social obligations.
It implies a strict system of triage.
Yes.
It feels like being in a rescue boat with a massive leak in the hull.
Oh, that's spot on.
Right. If you don't patch your own boat first, you can't lean over the edge to pull anyone else out of the water. If you try, you'll just capsize, and you both sink.
That captures the stakes perfectly. You have to secure your own structural integrity, your non-material energy, before you can safely interact with chaos.
So you have to be fully charged to health at all.
The underlying logic here is that if you do not aggressively protect your energy by seeking out joy and avoiding constant depletion, your battery will inevitably die. And a person with a dead battery lacks the vitality needed to do any good deeds, offer any real support, or contribute meaningfully to society in the first place.
If you let the freezing room drain all your heat, now there are just 2 frozen people instead of 1.
Exactly.
You haven't helped the sick person. You've just added yourself to the casualty list.
By allowing yourself to be dragged down by constant complaints and chaotic environments, you become part of the negative energy landscape yourself.
You become a drain to others.
Yes. You lose your mental sharpness, your health, and your capacity to act as a charger for others. The framework argues that your absolute highest duty is to maintain your own connection to positive non-material energy, because without it, you are useless to yourself and a burden to everyone else.
Man, it is a profound shift in perspective. It takes the modern, somewhat fluffy concept of self-care out of the realm of bubble baths and spa days and elevates it to a strict mechanical necessity for human survival.
It demands that you treat your spiritual energy with the exact same life-or-death seriousness that you treat your physical need for food and water.
Which we rarely do.
We don't. You wouldn't voluntarily drink contaminated water just to keep someone company.
No, you definitely wouldn't.
So Suifeng's mechanics dictate you shouldn't voluntarily absorb contaminated negative energy either.
Well, this has been a massive journey through a really unique and challenging text. To recap where we've been today, we started with the biological premise that life requires energy to grow, but we learned that human functionality requires a completely separate fuel source.
Right, we need that non-material software update to give our physical hardware purpose and clarity.
Exactly. Our minds run on positive, non-material energy, which we can absorb from macro sources like faith and ideals, but equally from beautifully mundane things, a meticulously organized desk,
A bright spring day.
a sudden compliment from a stranger, a Tuesday where your schedule just flows smoothly. Well, they're not just nice moments. They're literal battery chargers for your consciousness.
And we must urgently recognize the drains, too. The clutter, the arguments, the ambient complaining on the subway, and the heavy emotional toll of the struggles around us.
Right.
These are active thermodynamic threats to our vitality.
Which leads to his ultimate radical advice. You must act as a ruthless bouncer for your own mind.
You really do.
You have to fiercely guard your energy, seeking out beauty and joy and escaping the dispirited, lethargic drains whenever possible to patch the holes in your own boat. So as you go through your day today, I want you to really look at your life through this specific lens.
That's a great exercise.
There is the subtle friction of a messy room, or the sudden warmth of a passing compliment. Recognize those moments not just as pleasant or annoying accidents, but as literal mechanical fuel dictating how your mental engine runs. Pay attention to what is charging you and what is siphoning you dry.
It is a powerful lens to view your day through, but it also leaves us with an incredibly difficult reality to confront.
Yeah, it does.
If Shuifeng's ultimate advice for dealing with negative, dispirited, complaining people is for us to simply and aggressively escape them, what happens to all the people left behind?
That's the real question.
If everyone in society strictly follows this rule and avoids the negative to protect their own battery, do the drained individuals just end up in a closed loop, absorbing each other's negative energy forever? How can a community actually function if no one is ever willing to risk their own non-material energy to wade into the chaos and pull out those who have lost theirs?